Hey, everybody. In this episode, we're talking about 2025. This is the last episode of 2024. So I thought, well, I'll do the obligatory episode to take us out of 2024 into 2025. And we're talking just about 4 focuses that I want you to have for 2025 and go into 2025 intentionally. And let's see how many times I can say 2025 in this intro. 2024 has been a great year for us, and there's been a lot of blessings, and I'm actually excited to go into 2025. But we need to go into 2025 with intentionality. We need to set goals for ourselves. We need to build community. We need to practice self-care, and we need to get more involved in service work. And those are all the things that we're covering in this episode. Enjoy the show. Here we are, Real Recovery Talk. I am your host, Tom Conrad. In today's episode, it is just me. Okay, so listen, if you are entering into 2025 sober, this episode is for you. I want to just give you 4 things that I want you to focus on in 2025. Now, this is the obligatory, New Year's resolution type episode, but these are things that are often just kind of glanced over. And I think it's important that we go into 2025 with some intention and full transparency. These are things that I am going to work on myself, because sobriety, just with drugs and alcohol, that is, a lot of people can just put down the drugs and put down the alcohol. But what do we do with our lives once we are clean and sober? Now, this doesn't have to just be for people in recovery, family members, loved ones. I mean, these are things that people should probably focus on all the time. But, of course, we need to draw some attention around it and record an episode on it. So we're just going to get right into it. And number 1, the first thing that we need to really do for 2025 is set intentional goals. And if you've been listening to the podcast for any length of time, you know that I'm big on goal setting and intentional goal setting. Because a lot of times we can say, oh yeah, one of my goals is to lose weight. Well, how much weight? What's the plan to lose that weight? What are you going to do to lose that weight? If we take that goal and make it more intentional, okay, I want to lose 10 pounds by March 31st or 30th, however many days are in March. Okay, well, that's more specific. It's more intentional. Okay, I want to lose 10 pounds by March 30th, and how can I go about getting there? And these are the steps that I need to take. So that's what I'm talking about with intentional. Now, what are some kind of points that we can cover underneath intentional goals that we should look towards? One being mental health. And if we're sober, we've put down the drugs, we've put down the alcohol, we no longer have those to use as a coping skill to deal with our mental health. And sometimes, that is what drugs and alcohol is developed into, is a coping skill to deal with our mental health. So what are some things that we can do to better our mental health for the year of 2025? Maybe that is getting a therapist. Maybe that is, if you need to, see a psychiatrist. Be more open about your mental health, talking to people about your mental health issues, having a community of people that you can open up about your mental health. Mental health is very important, and I do think that you should set some intentional goals around bettering your mental health for 2025. And one of the big things that I think people overlook when it comes to their mental health and improving that is physical fitness. What are some things, if you're not somebody that is a fitness person and you don't necessarily like working out, well, let's have some small goals that we can work towards in 2025 to better amplify or ante up our physical fitness, because we have to do it. I mean, if you want to live a life that is good, if you want to live as long as possible, if you want to if you have children and you want to be available for them for the years and years and years to come, physical fitness is something that's very important. Most people in the United States are rather dormant, and physical fitness is something that is just overlooked. And I will make time for that if I can, when that kind of needs to be flipped. Make time for the other things. You have to prioritize your physical fitness. But let's just assume that that's not something that you're into. What are some small things that you can do for the year of 2025 to kind of get started in your physical fitness? And the first thing is just walks. Walks are so underrated that, people just take it for granted. And as you know, I'm a big listener of Mind Pump. They've developed into good friends of ours, and they talk about this all the time. Even after you eat, if you go out, do a 5 or 10 minute walk, wherever, outside, in your yard, up the street, wherever you're at, that is something that is going to move the needle. And it's not necessarily going to put on a bunch of muscle and all that stuff, but it just helps with the digestion. It helps with insulin sensitivity. It helps with just mobility. And, that's a good place to start. I think that if you're somebody that is rather dormant in the year of 2024, well, let's shoot to get somewhere between 6,000 and 8,000 steps per day. Now, if you're somebody that's easy for you to do, well, then let's set the bar a little bit higher. Okay, well, I do a lot of cardio. I walk, I run. All right, well, maybe let's incorporate some strength training 1 or 2 days a week and go out and get some weights or join a gym. Maybe hire a personal trainer, somebody that can take you through some basic strength training stuff. Depending on where you are on your fitness journey really determines the goals that you're going to set for 2025 in your physical fitness. But if you start there, what you'll see is that trickles into every other aspect of your life. I truly believe physical fitness is one of the best, if not the best, antidepressant out there, and people don't utilize it like they should. So if you really want to focus on your mental health, focus on your physical fitness, and those things are going to kind of come in line together. Another thing that you can set an intentional goal around for 2025 is spirituality. Maybe you're not much of a prayer. Maybe you don't attend church or synagogue or whatever it is that is your religion. Maybe you don't even have a religion or a faith. Well, that's something that you could and should be focusing on for the year of 2025. I'm a Christian and I do attend church regularly, but full transparency, I'm one of the types. I go to church on Sunday and throughout the week, it kind of falls off. That's something for me that I'm going to be more intentional around in the year of 2025. Not only is it going to benefit me and my sobriety, but it's also going to benefit my family. I am called to be the spiritual leader in my household, and for the year of 2024, I lacked in that area. So that's something that I'm going to be focusing on. And the last thing under setting intentional goals for 2025 is finances. Finances, I think, is very important, especially when we're sober and we actually have money now because we're not burning it on drugs and alcohol. We have to be intentional about our finances. Now, what does that look like? I'm a huge fan of Dave Ramsey. I don't follow it perfectly, but I think the principles are rather astounding. It's all based off common sense, and one of the biggest things that people don't do that they should do is just have a budget. So maybe in January of 2025, you start making a budget month after month. And Dave Ramsey and his team, basically what they say is you tell your money what to do before it tells you what to do. So if you could start a budget and have some boundaries around your finances and really kind of understand where your money is going, that's going to be so helpful in terms of just stress. And because a lot of people are living paycheck to paycheck and they don't need to be, but when they actually get on a budget, they find that they're just burning money on Starbucks, at Target, on Amazon, all these consumer places that are really unnecessary. We don't need all the stuff that we're buying. And being intentional with that, and again, full transparency, something that me and my family, we're going to work on in 2025. My wife doesn't know that yet, but that is what we're going to be focusing on. Because I want to be able to travel and go and do all the things that I want to do. And my kids time seems to be passing rather quickly. And I want to be able to go and explore and travel and meet new people and have new experiences. And all of that requires money. So set intentional goals around your finances for the year of 2025. Now, the second thing that I want you to focus on in 2025 in terms of ending up your sobriety is building community. A lot of people find their tribe and they stay within that. And that's okay to a certain extent, but having and going and building community, networking, meeting new people is so helpful. Again, I say this all the time, and it's so true. I got it from Patrick Bet-David. You've heard me say this probably 20 times over on the podcast. You're one relationship away from your whole life changing. And that doesn't just happen on accident. And this year for me has proven that. You have to go out and shake hands and say hello to people and meet with people and just be vulnerable and talk and invite somebody out to coffee or for dinner or for breakfast, or get in the middle of these groups. It's so important. One of the things that I have in the past kind of poo-pooed on, I didn't like, was online meetings. And a couple of people over the past few months have really kind of changed my mind on that. And the reason, and now I still don't believe online meetings are the best way to go to meetings, but I do believe now that they do serve a very good purpose. And one of the people that changed my mind on this is Stuart. Stuart was just on the podcast. This episode, I believe that episode just came out. Some of the biggest and most fruitful relationships that he has developed over the past few years has been via online Zoom meetings. And we had a conversation around this, and he's actually going to come back on the show so we can talk about this in more detail. But he's attending meetings now with people from all over the country, and he's developed relationships with these people that he's never even met before. And I think that's pretty cool. Being able to just log on from anywhere and be with these people, I think is a pretty cool thing. Now, I don't think that it is now Stuart is somebody that also attends in-person meetings. I do think that that is a better form of developing connections and networking and meeting people, but get involved in some sort of online community, whether that's through AA, NA, some sort of online sober program. There's a ton out there. It's a quick Google search away. But the purpose is to just meet new people, continuously try and develop new friendships and relationships and connections with people. I think that will serve you very well in 2025. The third thing that I want you to focus on is self-care. This is something that I need to focus on myself. I have 3 kids. I have the podcast. I have my rock recovery center, all this stuff that I sometimes can find myself putting myself on the back burner. And what does self-care look like? Well, we covered it a little bit in the first part, therapy. Having a therapist. This is something that I need to be more proactive with. I have a therapist. I see him, probably 6 to 8 times a year, I would say. But I need to get better at that, because it is somebody that can speak wisdom, that can speak truth into my life and really has a understanding of me and where I am lacking in my life. And I do believe that falls under self-care. I think it's very important. Prayer and meditation, I think, is very important for self-care, being able to take time out every day. And if you don't do it every day, maybe a few times a week, to intentionally pray and meditate. Now, whatever form that is for you, I don't know, but I know for me, I can't just sit here and close my eyes and meditate. That doesn't work for me. I need to do more of a guided meditation. There's a lot of apps on your phone that you can download. Headspace is something that I have used in the past quite a lot. And I do think that that's a great form of guided meditation. It just calms you down. It, relieves stress. I think being able to incorporate that into our lives on a regular basis over 2025 can be very beneficial. Same with prayer as well. One of the things that I want to focus on in 2025 for myself is setting aside time for prayer with my family. I do think that falls under the spiritual leadership portion. But that's something that, again, I lacked in 2024, and that's something that I want to focus on. So, breath work, I think that there's a lot of things that you can do there. Again, a quick Google search or YouTube search, you can find a lot of different breathing techniques, and this all falls underneath self-care, stress relief, and helps with anxiety, depression, so many things. Physical fitness is, again, going to fall underneath self-care. Listen, you're no dummy. You know what self-care means. It's not a lack of information. You know what it is that you need to do to better take care of yourself. You have to do it. You have to make time for it. You can't make time for all the other stuff and then, fit this in whenever time allows. It's the opposite of that. You have to make time for these things, be intentional about your self-care. And the funny thing is, and this is proven true for myself, when I'm intentional about these things, I'm a better person in every other area of my life. So if I am practicing physical fitness regularly, and I'm going to the gym regularly, and I'm working out regularly, I'm a better husband, I'm a better father, I'm less stressed out, I feel better about myself. I feel better in my own skin. My brain seems to be working better. I'm not as groggy in the afternoons. I'm not sucking down coffee and energy drinks all throughout the day because exercise kind of gives me what I need in that sense. When I'm not doing those things, I become more irritable. I become more angry. I become more stressed out. I become more anxious. So being intentional about these things is so important. And I do think that having accountability, especially in the self-care area, is very important. Accountability meaning if you're married, your spouse, maybe. If you're not married, a good friend of yours. If you're single and you don't really have any friends, well, that's one of the problems. You need to go out and build friends. But having somebody or a couple of people that can really speak into that and hold you accountable to these things, I think is very important. Because I know for myself, I can't really hold myself accountable. I will excuse my way out of something. But if I verbalize that to somebody and say, hey, I want to be intentional about this, this, and this, it's out in the open and they can call me out on it. And this is one of the things I think social media is good for. The vast majority of us have social media in some capacity. Post something on social media. You have friends on social media. And if you don't, I don't believe you. You have people on social media that care about you, that maybe it's family across the country or whatever it is, Facebook, Instagram, X, formerly known as Twitter, which I'm trying to figure out how to use. But you have friends within your social media network. post something on there. Hey, for the year 2025, these are the things that I want to work on. And I would appreciate any support, any accountability that can be offered. I know a ton of people that have done that in the past, and it has worked remarkably for them. In fact, maybe that's something that I'll do. So under all of this, make sure you set up some accountability points with people. The last thing that I want to cover, number 4 on the 4 focuses that I want you to have for 2025 is giving back, is service work. We get into this position for ourselves, and I'm just I'm thinking this through from my own perspective. It becomes all about me a lot of times. I'm very open about the fact I can become very selfish and self-centered. I am constantly, not constantly, but a lot of times I'm thinking about what is in it for me. It's not a good place to be. Service work, volunteering, these things are so beneficial. Every time I am proactive about this, I feel so good. You know, one thing that my family and I try and do at least a few times out of the year, and I always catch my family by surprise. You know, financially, I'm okay. I'm blessed. I mean, I'm not rich by any stretch of the imagination, but I am okay financially. And I tell you what, I love being able to go to a restaurant, wherever that may be, and give a tip that is just beyond what they would expect. Now, I'm not talking I tip them $1,000 on a $25 bill, which I don't even know where you would end up with a $25 bill this day and age. But, you know, I have been known to, if the bill's $30, $40, tip them $100, $150. Now, I don't do that a lot, maybe a few times a year. And I don't make it be known. And the only reason I'm talking about it on the podcast is just because it falls underneath like how I feel when I'm giving back to people. I feel so good about it. I don't want it. And I'm not looking for accolades. I'm not like standing there waiting for them to open it so I can see their reaction. I don't care about that. In fact, I always do it and we get up and leave. It feels so good to be able to do that now. And I think there's so many forms of this that we can practice in our everyday lives that we glance over. Volunteering, when I got sober, when I first moved to Florida, one of the things that I did, and I was very fortunate and blessed to be able to do, was volunteer at this place called the Christian Care Center. And I probably had 3 or 4 months sober. But what we would do is we would just hand out food to the homeless every day. I wasn't working. I didn't have anything really going on. So I would go down to the Christian Care Center. Panera Bread would donate all their leftover stuff from the night before. And we would just pass out bread and canned goods and donuts and pastries, you know, nothing healthy, but to them, you know, it's food. To homeless people, they need anything they can get. The reward on that was so great. I can't even really explain it. And, you know, being part of Christ Fellowship, they have so many volunteer opportunities. There's a place that we would go out in Belle Glade that we would service, obviously, the communities out there that are severely underfunded. There's no money. It's a third world country here in our backyard in Florida. We would go out there and just, you know, help the kids, give them food, pray with them, you know, read scripture with them, a lot of this stuff. And man, it feels so good to be able to do this. Now, maybe you don't have a Belle Glade around you. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. I don't know. I don't know where you live, but you can find something that's close to it. Maybe you have a neighbor or somebody in your community that you know is struggling in some capacity. Help them out in whatever capacity that you can. It may not have to be financially. Maybe you can't financially help them, but maybe you can get in your closet and get out all the clothes that you don't wear that you fit in 5 years ago, and you're waiting for that day that you're going to be able to fit in them again, and that day is probably never going to come unless you actually really intentionally work on it. Give those clothes away. Go give them to somebody. Go donate them to somebody in your community that needs them, and give without expectation. Go just drop the clothes off somewhere. You're going to feel so good about yourself. If you're financially in a position to be able to help somebody in that area, do it. Just maybe somebody that you know, maybe they're lonely in some capacity. Go spend some time with them. Invite them out to lunch. Invite them out to dinner. If you're going to meetings and you're a regular part, if you're part of a 12-step group in some capacity on a regular basis, be intentional inside that group. Maybe commit to doing the coffee. Maybe commit to bringing some sort of food to that meeting. I don't know. I'm thinking just regular things here that you can incorporate in terms of service. Church is a very big opportunity for people to give back. Any sort of volunteer opportunities. I know here in Palm Beach County, there's a couple of there's Peggy Adams and there's Big Dog Ranch. They're animal clinics or whatever they're called. A lot of people go and volunteer there. There's so much that you can do in terms of service work. What it boils down to is getting outside of yourself, being of service to your fellow human being, or dogs or cats or whatever fuels you, whatever gives you that joy. Because when I'm focused on other people and I'm focused on giving back to them in some capacity, I'm not overindulged in myself and thinking about myself. So I do think that that's something that you should be intentional about for 2025. So just to recap, set intentional goals for 2025. Okay. That could be in your mental health, your physical fitness, your spirituality, and your finances. Number 2, build community. Go to more meetings, meet new people, start attending online meetings, go out, shake hands, meet people, have conversations, take them out to breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Don't shy away from the opportunities of meeting new people. Number 3, self-care. That could be finally getting a therapist that you know that you need. Practicing prayer and meditation on a regular basis. Trying different forms of breath work. Being more intentional about your physical fitness. Going on a 10-minute walk after you eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Going out playing with your kids in the yard. Running with them. Just being intentional about those sorts of things. Self-care. You know what you need to do. And number 4, service work. Go out and be of service to other people in some capacity. That's going to serve you very well in the year of 2025. So, now also in the year of 2024, I do want to talk about a couple of things. There has been a lot of opportunities in the year of 2024 for the podcast, and I want to say 2024 for the podcast has been the best year yet. And that is because of all of you, all of the listeners, everybody that has chosen to entrust their time with us and coming on this journey with us in the podcast and focusing on addiction and recovery and everything that encompasses. Some of the interviews that we've gotten to do this year, I never thought would be possible. But you know what? They have been. And I'm so grateful to be able to do this and to have Ben and to have Dr. Tambini and to have all of you along on this journey. And 2025, we do have some goals that we're trying to achieve, and we're grinding. We really are. And but we do need help. We do need your assistance. And one of the ways that you can do that is, please, and I say this so much, just go and leave us a review. Let us know that you're listening. Let us know the things that we can improve on. Send us emails, correspond with us. Because I'll be honest, sometimes it feels like we're just talking into the air. We're just talking like, yeah, people are listening. Like I could see all the metrics on the back end. And of course, yes, people are listening, people are downloading, people are interacting and stuff like that. But sometimes podcasting can be rather lonely. It is a lonely space if there's not a lot of banter. I say at the beginning of every episode, you can reach us info@realrecoverytalk.com. But there's not a lot of emails that come through. Send us emails. Let us know what's going on in your life, what's going on in your mind, how we can help you. I mean, this is why we're here, is to be of service to people. Now, don't spam us, don't bombard us with stuff, but, utilize us to whatever abilities that you feel you need to. Some of the episodes that we did this year that I think are very great episodes that we did. Ben and I had a chance to go out to the NCI conference in Orlando back in April. We got to interview Chris Powell from Extreme Weight Loss. We got to interview Brad Jensen, who's a good friend of ours, the sober bodybuilder. We got to interview Jason Phillips. We got to interview Sal DiStefano from Mind Pump. We recently got to interview Russell Brand, and a lot of the other interviews that we did. The stories that we have gotten to hear and share with you are truly remarkable, and one that sticks out in my mind is Caitlin. I don't know the episode number. If you give me 1 second, I can tell you. Caitlin is episode 409. If you haven't already, go back to episode 409 and watch Caitlin's episode. This was a girl that she was homeless for a long time, and she's just now coming up on, I believe, 2 years clean. A true transformation. She came through our program at Rock Recovery Center. She did she needed everything she needed to do. She met all of the expectations and then some. And all the other interviews that we've gotten to do over the year 2024, truly amazing opportunities to meet these people and to just talk with them about sobriety and their lives and the fruits of their sobriety and everything that is happening in their lives is just amazing. So anyways, this is the last episode for the year of 2024. I am hopeful that 2025 is going to be just as good as 2024. 2024 was a good year for me, and I hope that 2025 exceeds 2024. So it's been an absolute blessing. It's been an honor, and we will see you in a few days for the start of 2025. All right, that is it for this episode of Real Recovery Talk. Thank you for tuning in. In the end, if you have any comments, questions, or concerns, you can always reach us. info@realrecoverytalk.com. Again, that's info@realrecoverytalk.com. And ultimately, we want to help you turn your mess into your message. That is it. We will see y'all later.